Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, July 4th show. Happy Independence Day to all my listeners. Hope you guys are having a great extended weekend. I built a network of elite industry professionals every week sharing their knowledge and expertise to you, my listener. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you're listening to a rebroadcast, but you can call into the show at 1-855 400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And in studio right now, Erik Tinglum with Trident Realty Group Northwest, here to discuss what's happening in today's real estate market, a little bit about what's going on in the South End. Erik, thank you so much for coming back in studio.
Well, Tina, it's always a pleasure, and I appreciate the invitation.
He is my expert on the South End, and a little bit different sometimes in what's happening in the South End to what we're seeing here in the East Side. A little bit about Erik, 25 years in the real estate industry, top 10% in production in Pierce County over the past 7 years. Retired former flight engineer with a 34-year career in the USAF and USAF Reserve. Coached high school football in Pierce County for 20 years and sits on the board of two nonprofits supporting youth development. And 75% of Erik's business is working with both retired vets and active duty military in and around the Puget Sound. And he is the team leader for Trident Realty Northwest. Again, Erik, excited to have you have a conversation with you, and especially a little bit about what's different going on in your market. So lag behind the King County boom. Now, is it looking kind of the same? I mean, is the difference between what's happening in the South End versus over in Seattle on the East Side? What are you seeing?
Sure. It always has, Tina, for the past however many years. With the barometer for the real estate industry starts and ends right here in King County. We in Pierce County then are the result of the dynamics up in King. And so when we see double-digit year-over-year increases in price, the word gentrification comes to mind, and the middle class then somewhat becomes priced out. Not unlike, say, like San Francisco,
yes,
where you have the incredibly wealthy elite and then the subsidized housing, but the middle class kind of disappears. And so what happens is they start to move south looking for more affordable housing, but there is a period of time. There's a time lag. In addition to that, the other real compelling reason to move south is retirement. And we know that for the past few years, the predictors, year in, year out, divorce, health, loss of job, marriage, but more importantly, retirement, that baby boom generation. People are now starting to take advantage of these numbers for the sale of their home here in King County.
Makes total sense. So they're getting ready to retire, so they're selling their home in King County and moving to something that's more affordable because they don't need to be right in the city or...
Exactly, but they want to continue to enjoy the Northwest lifestyle, and be accessible to those things that they've known and loved over the years.
So, and I think a little bit of it. Well, it's a big benefit to be in an area that you can actually wait to see what happens here, and then it's gonna flow down and follow. So that's great. You can have a little bit of a more prediction of what your market's going to do. What is that lag time? I mean, what are you typically looking at?
It's been approximately a year. If we take a look at where the inventory was in Pierce County, say a year and a half ago, it was far more substantial than it is today.
Yes.
And the same thing, King County was the same. I pulled up some numbers this morning, and they're rather startling. Today, as of today, this morning, there were 3,366 active single-family residential homes for sale in King County.
Okay.
Conversely, there were 2,948 single-family homes available in Pierce County, a county that has a third, if not a fourth, the population of King.
Yes.
Now, having said that, though, the solds in the last 30 days in King County were 2,175.
Okay.
Versus Pierce County, 12,000 50. So here's where the math goes in.
I was going to say, help break that down. And
You bet.
okay.
It's called an absorption rate.
Okay.
So in other words, if we were to take a look at the total inventory available,
Okay.
how long would it take at the present rate of sales for there to be no houses?
Okay.
The number in King County is approximately a little over 1.5 months of inventory.
Wow.
That is off the scale. I mean, you can't.
Have we seen that before, Eric? For all your years and 25 years in the industry, do you know?
This has probably been the most robust market that I personally have ever seen. I must confess. So by comparison, if you take a look at Pierce, and I should have pulled up Snohomish, but I'm sure the numbers are similar. We only have 2.36 months of inventory.
Okay.
So when you take a look at that, we are now in Pierce County experiencing multiple offers,
Yes.
cash offers.
Yep.
I have a listing right now. When I get back, I'm going to have to send out that, to the offers that are coming in, we're going to have to ask for highest and best. Now, having said that, that creates yet another problem because we have buyers with money, but when there's financing involved,
Yes.
who determines the value? The appraisal.
And you know what? I'm glad that you brought that up, Eric, because my understanding is on the south end, there's a little bit more of a challenge in the appraisal arena than what we've seen up here in this market, in the Seattle market. We're not having as many challenges, but now all of a sudden in the last 2 months, I mean, it's been incredible what's happening in the market and trying to be able to determine value. So what challenges are you guys having?
Sure. Well, let's face it. There's a lot more money in King County than there is in Pierce County.
Yes.
Our largest source of income, and a lot of people don't know this figure, but it's retired military as a single source.
Okay.
Okay. After that, active duty military with JBLM.
Okay.
So most of our buyers are depending upon either VA or FHA, and sometimes FHA with DPA or down payment assistance.
Yes. Yep.
So when you look at that, we are really tied to the appraisal process.
Yes.
When you take a look at King County and you have a conventional loan,
Yep.
and you're putting
coming in down,
30%
exactly.
down, well then, the appraisal really is irrelevant at that point in time.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, I've had appraisals all over. I had a really cute Craftsman in the North End, which is a very coveted area, the Proctor area in Tacoma. And, we listed it at $249. It got appraised at $270. So that was...
But that's unusual.
Very unusual.
Yes, okay.
And now I have 3 VA appraisals that have come in low of late.
So what so 3 and late, how long?
In the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, so that's a lot. I mean, that's an issue. So what are you seeing? Because we're just starting to experience this, which is kind of we're not used to it, having the low appraisals. What are your sellers doing? I mean, our sellers don't think that it's real, and they feel, well, we just put our property back on the market and we'll try it again. And you've got multiple offers, people that are actually didn't get the house that they're still coming in and wanting that house. What are you seeing your sellers do when it comes back to that renegotiation? Because if you're listening right now, if you're in the process of getting a home and the appraisal comes in low, as long as you haven't waived your finance contingency, then you've got options. I mean, either the seller agrees to lower the price, you agree to pay the higher amount because the bank's only going to lend on what the actual value comes in, the lesser of the two, or neither one of you agrees and you just walk away. So what are you seeing in that renegotiation, Eric, that's happening with your sellers in your market?
Yeah, that's a really good question because as you know, Tina, especially being on the lending side, all that glitters isn't gold.
Yes.
I mean, you really want to take, let's say you've got 4 offers, potentially 5 offers sitting in front of you. You really want to do your work as the listing agent to call those individual loan officers and find out the strength of their buyer as much as they, based upon their fiduciary responsibility, their client can share that with you. So you're asking a lot more questions than you ever were because you have a lot more options. And if somebody throws a very large number at you, you've got to counsel your seller that may or may not be the offer we're going to want to
A large
take.
number meaning a large value or large price from that home.
Right.
Yes.
Can they close the loan?
Yes.
Can they, so So obviously, you have to do a lot more work, and you
Yes.
really have to filter through those things so you can provide an intelligent options for your seller.
And how difficult, Eric, for you guys to really, looking at comps and seeing what's happening, that you can really, because I know a lot of times in the representation with your guys, when you're going in to represent or to discuss with a seller how to market their home for a price, it's like, well, I can't give you a price right now. When are we going to list it? Because the price can change so much in a short period of time. So how can you strategically even decide what that best offer is going to be, not price-wise?
Yeah, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And for me, I have to, I'll be completely honest with the seller. I am no wiser than the market.
Yes.
And the market is changing daily and hourly. So, I'll defer to statistics, but I'll also, good example, the 3 undervalued appraisals that we got back did not take into consideration, and there's that little column about declining marketing.
Yes.
That and so it became very clear that what was happening in terms of demand and supply was not a part of the equation in terms of establishing value.
Wow.
So the values came in low.
Yeah.
And we're scrambling. But again, if you had any economics class ever, the first thing we learned about was the law of supply and demand.
Yes.
We have very little supply and a great deal of demand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by the way, to just shift gears, where it's really become difficult is with buyers. Buyers don't understand that, they have not been used to the fact that the market has, in fact, tilted. It's changed. Yeah. It's not 7-8 months ago. It's not a buyer's market. It's a seller's market. Yeah. And so if you're going to think about it, you're not going to sleep in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
So, and that's great, Eric. So are you seeing in your market some of the creative things that are going on with presenting in multiple offers when it comes to the appraisal? I'm seeing things come over to my desk, contracts coming together where there's earnest money being waived. There's a lot of things. But when it comes to the appraisal, to where they're saying that the buyer will agree to pay $10,000 over the appraised value not to exceed. Are you guys getting creative in how you're...
The answer is no.
Okay.
Now, is there some creativity? Sure. You're shortening timelines, you're doing that. But you're talking about a very sophisticated buyer that has a lot of disposable income that's wanting to sweeten the pie and has the ability to.
Yeah.
I'm still working in Pierce County with a middle-class buyer.
Makes sense.
And as a result, they don't have necessarily that money to throw. They're being very... they're being very fiscally responsible. You're getting a retired couple that's coming down from...
Which is good, because you're not having to deal with that chaos of, these people that are coming in with all these creative things. Then nobody has to actually try to compete with that if you're not, you guys just have the old-fashioned cash buyer that happens to come in, and that's hard to compete with anybody.
Well, yeah, that's correct. And I'm sure that there, as time goes on, if this bubble keeps up, sure, there's going to be a lot more creativity.
So let's talk about your year-over-year appreciation in Pierce.
Approximately 8%, where we have double-digit in King, and 8% is a fairly substantial number.
Yes.
And we're continuing to see it go in the same direction. But remember, appreciation goes a lot slower than depreciation. I mean, when it falls fast.
Yep.
The rising, you got to have a comp to support it.
Of course. And but what about some of the best areas over in Pierce County? What are the really popular hot areas?
Well, they're probably the most coveted area, and it's amazing. King County people come down to the Proctor District or the north end of Tacoma or the Stadium District, what we call the North Slope, and they're amazed to find homes that they'd find on Magnolia and other places, and you kind of laugh. You say, no, it's always been here. Yeah. I'm amazed that you discovered it. Having said that, though, we in Pierce County think in terms of commutability.
Okay.
And of course, the traffic patterns in the Northwest, as we all know, are horrific. I mean, your life, it becomes dictated by your traffic patterns.
Yeah. So we get into like 2033 and Sound Transit and all that cool stuff that's going to be coming, but we got to hold on a little longer for all that great stuff.
I could be dead by then, but that's okay. Having said that, so when you're talking North Pierce, Lakeland Hills, Auburn, parts of Federal Way, Browns Point, Dash Point, you really see a lot more increase in value in those areas and a lot more demand because people don't want to get as far south as Graham, and further south toward Spanaway where some of the new construction is because they exacerbate that commute that much more.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. So with your buyers, I know you kind of with the interest rates are still really low, but properties are going up in value and not really sure where the market is heading and what's happening. What are you seeing with your buyers as far as that, the urgency to get out there and still fight? And then they're getting discouraged because they're coming up multiple offers. So what are you seeing buyers' emotional state as far as purchasing?
Well, what I'm doing, I'm reaching out to my database and I'm telling them I told you so. I'm telling you,
yes.
Interest rates
are on the fence. Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't have sat on the fence. Yep. Interest rates are starting to creep up.
Yes.
Certainly not to the 4 3/4, 5.5 that I had anticipated by this time because the Fed continues to keep the interest rates
and I anticipated
down.
Even higher. So
well, there you go. So now I'm telling them, look. This is not going to last.
Yes.
If you're going to buy, you need to jump on it and jump on it now. And you need to put your best foot forward. And all the things you were talking about in your previous segment regarding, what you look like from a financial picture to an underwriter.
Yes.
You need to be addressing those issues today. There you go.
Yep, totally agree. And it's the same, it's the conversation that we've been having. It's just where eventually the conversation's not going to be had anymore because the rates are going to go up and we're not going to see them again. So,
that brings up a lot of people think, well, I'm going to sit and, you talk about a point increase. Well, that just got rid of 20% of the market.
Exactly.
That lower 20%, that 1% is not 1%.
Yes.
It's 20% of the market.
Yep.
Especially if you're marginal in the first place.
Exactly. It's when we're not in a market where we feel that we're going to and we're at risk of our properties depreciating at all. But back in the day when there was, if rates are really low, but you're not really sure what the market's going to do and price may go down, is it better to buy now or wait until? And it's always rate or the cost is more important than price. So what I encourage, if you're listening right now, it's really about the numbers and just running them, pick up the phone, give me a call, run a cost analysis sheet to just see whatever assumptions you want to put in there. 0.5% increase in interest rate, 1% increase in interest rate, no appreciation, 5% appreciation or a decline, whatever you want to look at. And you'll be amazed and surprised to see how these numbers come up if you're anticipating that there's an increase in interest rates. So I want to talk, Erik, a couple minutes about your team, because I think it's just it's especially in this market with everything that's going on and all the work that needs to be done in assisting with buyers or sellers, which you do both. Talk a little bit about the team concept.
Well, we've got, I have 5 agents that are working for me. 1 is a listing agent, then 3 are buyer's agents. And simply put, the demands of both buyers and sellers are such that you have to be available when they're available.
Yes.
And my team's going to be working this weekend. But if your life is dictated solely by real estate and you have no life, then, we don't live to work. We work to live.
Yeah.
And so I make sure that all my team players are backed up. You're not getting 1 agent, you're getting potentially 4.
Yes.
And so we're very supportive of one another. And we really believe that family is first and foremost.
Yep.
And, you just can't sacrifice that even for the most awesome client in the world. So we just make sure that we're there one for another. And certainly we're totally committed to our client. And that way we don't skip a beat and they won't feel that they're being slighted in any way.
Awesome. Erik, thank you so much for coming into studio. It's always a pleasure to have you come over here on our side from the South End, and just appreciate your time so much.
Tina, I wish your listeners could see your beautiful smile. It is so fun for me to come in here, and I just enjoy my time every time I come.
Thank you, Erik.
Thank you.
Coming up next in the Money Hour, economic decisions without enough knowledge can lead you to serious errors on your money. Instead, make decisions based on financial knowledge. And that's why I have Gary here, Gary Kessel with Mountaintop Advisor LLC right here on 1150 AM KKNW after this short break.